On Sunday, we witnessed an exciting clash in the WSL as Arsenal beat Man City 4-3 in the opening fixture of the weekend. In this video, we analyse what Arsenal did to effectively nullify Man City in their build-up phase, why Man City keep making defensive errors, and how Mariona Caldentey was game-changing for the Gunners. This is our tactical analysis of Manchester City 3, Arsenal 4. Alright, let's get into it then. Tactical analysis of Manchester City 3, Arsenal 4. An incredible game of football, Harry. I think after it we all had to have a bit of a lie down and take a deep breath, but a very enjoyable matchup.
Yeah, as you say, it's taken a few days just to calm down and be able to talk about it properly because it was a crazy game. It was up and down, up and down. It was relentless action. It's exactly what you want to see. It's incredible. It will go down as a quality, one of the great games we've seen in the WSL. So credit to both sides. But yeah, we've had a bit of time to calm down, a bit of sleep, and now I think we can talk about it rationally.
Yeah, it's one of those games where Arsenal were very good without having the ball. And another game where Man City had the ball, didn't really do a lot with it, and made too many errors in their own third. So we're going to talk through each goal individually and sort of branch off of that. I think we'll summarise our points towards the end. So let's start with the first goal then, 40 seconds in, and this already felt like the United game all over again, where City concede incredibly early on, and it looked like it would capitulate in the same way. It was a City blunder coming from Keating's pass into Alexandri. I don't put any blame on Chiara Keating here. I think if you look at when she receives the ball back from Alexandri, there are no options on Hasegawa, and we've seen this in recent weeks where teams have marked Hasegawa out of the game. Suddenly, City's build-up is very difficult for them to do what they want to do. And so you see there, Keating just has no options. Rord and Park are too high in build-up. Hasegawa's marked out of the game. They've got Arsenal's 4 were all in City's third, and it made it very difficult for them to play out. And then Keating plays to Alexandri. Alexandri tries to do too much with it. Again, I think even once Caldentey triggers that press and Alexandri's under pressure, just knock it out of play or try and find Kasparai. Anything other than what she chose to do, which was to try and take Caldentey on, which I don't understand why she thought that was going to work. But yeah, that obviously went wrong. Caldentey finishes. I thought Hasegawa could have done more. I thought she hesitated just before she could have got across. If she'd just come across and made the tackle, got in front, maybe it would have been a different story. Either way, though, Arsenal executing the press really effectively, and it causes Man City to make the error. It forces that City error. And Mariona Caldentey, what a fantastic performance.
Yeah, really, really well done. As you say, to start so early from Arsenal, to be so intense from the off was superb. And credit to Caldentey because she had to be there to win the ball of Alexandria, and then it was a really nice finish. And I think that kind of kick-started what ended up being a really strong performance from Caldentey, back playing in the in that I'll say pivot, but back in that midfield rather than out wide, and she had a stellar game.
Yeah, she really shone. I thought it was a game that was suited to exactly how she wants to play, and she took the game with the scruff of the neck, and she was the difference maker in this one. If we look at her game by numbers, then obviously she notched up that early goal. She later would get an assist, and she got a pre-assist as well, setting up the winner. Or setting up me to set up the winner. 7 shot creating actions throughout the game, 6 tackles, 1 interception. She was defending from the front, 54 carries, the most of any player in the Arsenal team, 83 touches, the most of any player on the pitch, 17 ball recoveries, the most of any player on the pitch by 7. The next closest was Yui Hasegawa with 10. Phenomenal from Mariona Caldentey. The work rate to continuously win the ball back. For reference, the next closest Arsenal player was Lotte Wubben-Moy with 7. It's something you expect much more from defensive players, but Caldentey was everywhere on Sunday, and then a 50% successful take on rate as well. Absolutely phenomenal. She was everywhere. She covered every blade of grass. She was involved in everything positive for Arsenal. She was almost flawless throughout the game. Absolutely excellent performance.
Yeah, Caldentey is one of those players where we always say if she's involved in a game, she makes an impact, and she's a type of player that can completely transform sides and completely transform games. That's exactly what she did here. She was so involved that because of the quality she possesses, she was bound to change the game. And as you say, those numbers are absolutely ridiculous. And she completely flipped the game on its head. And especially in that first 40 seconds, obviously superb. But in that second half, especially when Arsenal did end up, did manage to pull it back again. and go on to win the game. Caldentey was instrumental in that, and a really solid performance. And I think it's game. Caldentey's had these. I think it was a bit of a not a slow start, but a reasonable start to life at Arsenal. But there's been a few games recently where it's just like, wow, that is the player that we saw at Barcelona. That is the player that won the Champions League and won a boot full of trophies. And credit to Arsenal as well, because they're putting in a place that she can, facilitating her so she can play her football and play as well, because you put her on a football pitch and she plays good football.
I really enjoy the visualization there of a boot full of trophies.
Just full of them. Yeah,
I think she's probably got more than. I mean, it depends how big the car is.
She's got
to
a big.
be
She must have a
fair.
big boot.
Huge. She drives a lorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed that visualization, and yeah, it's a testament to what a fantastic player Caldentey is. She was phenomenal throughout the game. Then we look at the second goal, which came on only the 8th minute, and again, this gave the game a similar feeling to that United game, where it was so dominant in the early stages for the opposition, and City just couldn't do anything. Arsenal were coming. City trying to play out. Ruben Moy pounces, and I really like this from Lotte Ruben Moy. I thought again a really good performance from Ruben Moy. She pounces and wins that ball back, and Rord isn't aware that she's coming in, but that aggressive, that front-footed defending from Ruben Moy means she wins that ball back. Rord catches her, and it's a really clumsy free kick to give away. And a really dangerous area for Arsenal to use. And obviously they did use that free kick incredibly well. But to talk more, we'll talk in that goal in a second, but to talk more of Ruben Moy's performance, 50% aerial success rate throughout the game, 2 tackles, 3 interceptions, 7 ball recoveries, as I mentioned. Again, a really well-rounded performance. And I think it's also so pivotal for Arsenal to have a player who hasn't played an awful lot of football since Renée Slagers has taken over, to come into this game and look accustomed to the system, accustomed to the side. And I think that's really important. And I wouldn't be surprised, given that Catley didn't do too bad a job at left back, if they do stick with Ruben Moy, especially after, McCabe's ill discipline against Chelsea. But yeah, I thought Ruben Moy was excellent. Looking at that goal though, Kiara Keating again, question marks, nowhere near the ball, catches Ruben Moy in the face. It's just another week and another blunder for Keating.
Yeah, it's a real tough spot for City, and it's the same with Alexandri for the first goal. You've got players on that pitch who, for the last couple of weeks, have made error after error. They've cost their side goals, and it's one of those where it is really difficult. But I think that when players are making errors, they're bound to go on and keep making more. And it's one of those where we're on Keating. We saw Yamashita coming for Aston Villa. I don't think she did particularly wrong. So to bring Keating back in for the bigger game after we saw what happened against Manchester United, I think it was an interesting one. I really do. When you make mistakes, you try everything. As a player, you try everything to stop them. That's what Keating's done here. She's got caught in the wrong headspace by trying to come for the ball. But the reason she's done that is because she doesn't back herself to stop it.
I'm not sure she's wrong by coming to win the ball, though. No. She's got to get that right.
No, you've got to think about it as a goalkeeper. The ball, edge of the 6-yard box, she's got to cover 6 yards there. She's shorter than the centre-halves who are coming in. It's a really poor decision. I don't know. And when you look at the header, it was straight down the middle of the goal. If Keating had stood there, it'd have been an easy catch. I think that it was...
Yeah, I will caveat that by saying if Keating was still stood there with Moy, probably wouldn't have headed it straight at her.
Potentially.
But I don't think she was necessarily wrong to come for the ball. I just think the execution was really poor. She's got to get up and she's got to be stronger, because if she goes for it, properly goes for it, the only thing that happens is that she either wins that ball or Ruben Moy fouls her in the process of winning it. Because we know the goalkeeper protection. If they're both up there competing for it and Ruben Moy comes away with it, that will be given as a foul. But she doesn't commit to it. She's nowhere near it. She punches Ruben Moy in the face. That's the thing. She was nowhere near the ball.
I don't think she was going to get near it, though, because of that. She is relatively short for a goalkeeper, and she jumped at it and still only managed to punch Ruben Moy round the face, which for Ruben Moy, she looked hurt. But I just think it's just understand the game. That I think Keating was very unlikely that she was going to win that ball, and I think. Play the percentages, stay in your net. If Ruben Moy heads it top corner, fair enough, it goes in. But I think overall, got it. It went horribly wrong, and credit to Ruben Moy, because after winning that free kick, she deserved the goal.
Yeah, and I think as well, a really nice touch. I know most of our analysis is more tactical and about the goals, but I really liked the British Sign Language. She did, so when she tapped the badge, she pointed this out in an interview afterwards, because she did it in a bit of a weird way, and everyone was like, well, what's going on there? It's actually a BSL for gunners, which I thought was a
Oh,
really nice touch
cool.
as well. So that added to what was already a very good performance. Anyway, getting back to the game, at that moment, game looked over for all intents and purposes. We thought again that Arsenal probably go on to get a third, maybe a fourth. Game will be done. They probably won't capitulate in the same way Man United did. However, maybe this is City's whole thing: concede a load of goals, lull the opposition to a false sense of security, and then just go and hit them on the attack. It worked against Villa, but it didn't work here ultimately. But for a moment, they did come back into the game. Arsenal tried to sit back, tried to lower that tempo, but City utilised that and they came forwards and in the 20th minute they found a goal back into the game. Virginia working it nicely down the right hand side, and again I think Virginia's a player I really want to zero in on because this is probably one of her best performances.
Yeah.
And I think she's been really, really good in recent weeks over Virginia.
Yeah, I think that, and as well, on the goal scorer as well, Mary Fowler, I think they're two players who, at the start of this tough, when Sean Hemp got injured and and Gareth Taylor had to rely on, and City had to rely on the likes of Virginia Fowler to find the back of the net and get a good run of form going. They didn't really, but in these last couple of games, they've both been really, really strong, especially Mary Fowler. I think she's on 8 or 9 goal contributions in her last 4 or 5 games. It's absurd numbers, and she's done really well recently to step up. And for Gino, it's been a difficult start. There's been a lot of people who have been frustrated with her, who are annoyed that she has been keeping the likes of Kelly out of the team. So it hasn't been easy for Firgino coming over to WSL and thrown into the starting position, starting game after game and expected to deliver. That didn't quite go to plan at the start, but I do think this game, especially being such a big game against a very, very good opposition in Arsenal, Firgino looks much better. It's the confidence, it's the directness, and that's what earned her, that made her get the ball in for this first goal, was that she would just ran direct at Arsenal and then just whipped that ball in and didn't think about doing anything else, and she got it on the money.
Well, it's quite nice, wasn't it? Because she tried to put the ball in, didn't quite come off. She uses Kasparai. She then receives the pass back, and she put a really nice ball in. Arsenal's defensive organisation was nothing short of tragic, I will say. Somebody's got to get in front of that. I mean, I think Catley really struggled against Virginia in this game at times. We saw, obviously, the penalty, which we'll get on to later. We saw in this moment here, she just didn't quite keep up with her. But then the box defending, I mean, what Ruben Moy Williamson, I was giving Ruben Moy praise a moment ago, but that neither of them are facing the play. And then Emily Fox just gets, outdone at the far post. Again, I think that could have been stronger defending there.
Yeah.
To be aware of where Fowler was and try and prevent that ball getting through to her. Ultimately, it does find its way through to Fowler. I don't think she knew much about the finish, but it did come in off of her. And that brought City back into the game in a sense. And then we entered a period of what I can describe as frustration as a viewer, because neither side wanted to give up any territory.
Yeah.
City were obviously conscious they needed a goal, but also conscious of the fact that they have been really open at the back, so didn't want to overcommit. Arsenal were laboured, I think, in this moment, and I understand it because they don't have a whole load of attacking options at the moment, with Kelly loan tied, with Ford out injured, and the fact that they had to play Blackstenius in this game showed that they were a little low on attackers. Rosa Kafaji was their only attacker on the bench, and they don't like using her ever. So they were a little short attacking areas, and you just felt that they were conserving a bit. But it did mean that the end of the first half did sort of just peter out slowly. But that picked right back up in the second half, didn't it?
Yeah, as you say, that at the end of the first half was nervy, because at the time in the game we thought next goal is absolutely massive. Will Arsenal reinstate a 2-goal lead, or will City pull it right back from 2-0 down? And in that second half, I think City, I think they realised that they've got nothing to lose here. That they can't afford to be conservative and see what happens in the second half. They came out, they started the better side, and they managed to get themselves a goal.
Yeah, it was an Arsenal throw deep in their own half. Caldentey came to receive the ball short, and I'm just not sure where she was going. She ran towards her own penalty area. She got muscled off the ball by Viviana Miedemar, and then Miedemar just smashed it home.
Yeah,
Took it off.
So weird.
Created enough of an angle for her to shoot, and then just fired it past the goalkeeper. Again, a really good finish. Viviana Miedemar has stepped up really nicely, and again, I find it quite amusing because when we were at the Everton Man City game, we got to that game, and Hemp was out injured, Shaw was out injured, and Greenwood was out injured. Such little of the conversation was about Alex Greenwood, and it was all about how will City score goals without Hemp and Shaw. I think we've seen in the games since that Miedemar, Fowler, Fabinho have all stepped up and filled those attacking roles. And actually, the big gaping hole, despite them trying to patch it with Rebecca Knack, has been defensively, where they've been so open. But in attacking areas, they have been efficient, they have been effective. I mean, in 2025, they scored 2 goals, 4 goals, 3 goals in the games they've played so far, in the league at least. And obviously, they won their Conti Cup game, or Subway League Cup game as well. So, yeah, they've been very effective in front of goal. It's just been that defensive organisation. Viviana Miedemar here, though, again, showing her goal-scoring prowess. There is an irony in the fact that Arsenal lost Viviana Miedemar in the summer just to go and concede to her now. But, yeah, especially after watching Blackstenius, who was offside 3 times in this game, and that was 3 of Arsenal's 10 offsides. Again, City still playing that high line. Anyway, Miedemar scores. Arsenal, incredible response. They react incredibly quickly, and within a minute, they're back in front.
Yeah, it hadn't even stopped after the equaliser, and everyone, I think usually after that you're going, right, it's 2-2, game on, and Arsenal weren't having any of it, and they just started superbly. And I really like this because it was in that second half, when they were in that first half, when they went 2-0 up, they decided to sit back. But as soon as City got it level, it felt like there was a moment for Arsenal. It was like, right, let's just go at it again. Let's just go at them hard and fast. And it felt like they were kicking off the game again, similar to the first half where they scored 40 seconds in. They started fast. They completely caught City out, and it was a really well worked goal and a nice finish from Marnham.
Yes, they had the ball. City won it back, and then City gave it away, and it fell to Caldentey. And there was this moment where you see her pick up the ball and just dart forwards, and you see around her as Mead sprints past and Blackstenius, sprinting forwards, Russo sprinting forwards, and they're all coming together, and it looked incredibly scary for Manchester City. And Caldentey just carrying that ball forwards. She plays a wonderful ball through to Frida Marnham, and Marnham does the rest from there. A really nice finish, really composed finish from Frida Marnham. Fantastic pass from Mariona Caldentey. And then Arsenal have the lead once again. But as you say, really, really good response. 3-3 then, and again, I don't want to debate the penalty too much because there's not a debate.
No.
It was never a penalty. And I can see why Arsenal fans would be aggrieved by it. I think there'd be more frustration around it if they'd obviously gone on to not win the game. But they did win, and so it didn't matter too much. But they did concede a penalty. Catley fouling Ayoba Fabinho. It was definitely a foul. She pulled it back. It was just outside of the area. What I will say on it, though, I think more interesting to talk about is the threat of Ayoba Fabinho. She just skinned Catley. Catley's only option really was to foul her, and she was fortunate in a sense that it did come outside the box.
Yeah.
Because, a yard the other way, and it's an obvious penalty.
Yeah.
So I think that as much as it wasn't a penalty, Fabinho's directness made that foul, and ultimately she deserved to win a penalty from it. Obviously, though, it wasn't. By the rules, it's not a penalty. But yeah, Fabinho, really, really good performance. Darts inside, managed to win it, and then Fowler putting away the penalty with ease. Drew them level, and again, we had that goal response type game. But it almost felt in the manner in which Arsenal was scoring goals so quickly after City had, it did feel more like it was City who were scoring to lead. It's almost like that first 20 minutes hadn't counted for Arsenal, and then City, when they scored with Miedemar, were leading, and then Arsenal bounced back. So it was a bit of an interesting game in that regard. But yeah, I think that was Arsenal's prerogative to win this match, and ultimately they went on to do so. That last goal, City lost the ball in Arsenal's half, and has been the story of City's season. They are very bad in transitional moments, and they got caught out. They lost the ball high up the pitch. And then Arsenal transitioned so effectively. Catley wins the ball back. She gives it to Mariona Caldentey. Caldentey picks up, looks up and sees Beth Mead. And there's not many players in the WSL who pull off the pass with the absolute perfection that Mariona Caldentey did. But she switches the ball. She finds Beth Mead, and Arsenal have opened City up completely because Mead is holding the width very well on that right-hand side. She carries the ball. She timed the run incredibly well as well. I think that's worth saying. Does really well to time that run. Gets in behind. Tees up Blackstenius, and while she had some howler misses, this one would have capped them if she hadn't put it away. She does tuck it home. Manchester City 3, Arsenal 4. A big win for the Gunners.
Yeah, this last goal felt like it was coming. I think after that penalty,
You could see relief from Blackstenius as well.
that was huge for her to score in this game because it had been a tough one. But after that penalty, it did really feel like the Arsenal were going to score. They just felt like an inevitability. They were the better side. They were coming at City. And there were Kiara Keating kept running 30. I think there was two of them. It was the first one where Keating ran 30 yards out of her goal to Blackstenius, and rather than just lob it over her, decided to try and run round her and went too wide. And the same happened to Kafaji. Didn't matter too much because that was an injury time and Arsenal were already winning. But Arsenal could have scored a lot more. But
they almost put off because the goalkeeping was so bizarre from Kiara Keating. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to react.
Yeah, Blackstenius looked up and saw this orange blob running at her and went, well, hang on a minute, why is Keating here when I'm just crossed the halfway line? But yeah.
She did well, Keating, to force her wide.
Yeah,
Blackstenius didn't back herself just to hit it on her left foot. So she then tried to work it around to a move. Didn't really work out. But yeah, I think this game was a really interesting one for looking at how both these sides play. Again, it shows what we've known about City now for a few weeks. They are really good in attacking areas. They can break down top sides and even the weaker sides. They are really good at breaking teams down, but they are so open in transition, and especially now without Alex Greenwood, they have no organisation in the defence. And what we've seen in since the turn of the year is something we've not really seen, in that there's so many errors in their game. Yeah, so many errors at the back, and another one for Alexandra, another one for Kiara Keating, and the problem is the confidence just keeps getting battered. I know you say I'll change players, but I don't think it would have been any different. Yamashita in goal. I don't think she's a top level goalkeeper.
No.
As much as I think Keating's made mistakes, but I think she is overall a better keeper than Yamashita. She's had a really tough season. If you think back to last year, she was the best goalkeeper in the league. So, I think there are some difficulties there with rotation, and then centre half, they are very light at the moment without Greenwood. I think that, yes, they brought in Knack, but to sell Kennedy immediately was a bit of an odd choice unless they had another centre-back line-up, which ultimately they didn't. I know they've got, obviously, they brought Tracy Pryor coming through and Cody Thomas in their defensive line, but some really odd recruitment from Manchester City in recent years. And in terms of XG, actually not too dissimilar. 1.7 for Man City, 2.0 for Arsenal. What I will caveat that with, though, is that obviously Man City had the penalty. That's immediately 0.75. I believe Miedemar's chance generated a high XG because she received it at low speed in the penalty area, so it was a pretty easy one to strike. So, there was that mitigation. And for Arsenal, Sina Blackstenius had 1.0 XG by herself. On a day, they would have won that game slightly more comfortably. Overall, though, looking at takeaways from the game, City's still making loads of errors. Arsenal, what I found quite interesting was the amount of offsides they gave away. 10 offsides for Arsenal. I know I mentioned it briefly, but it shows two things. One, City's high line is still incredibly high, which was beneficial at times because they caught Arsenal offside 10 times, but wasn't at others when they conceded 4 goals.
Yeah.
So that's quite an interesting observation. The other thing is Arsenal just need to be a bit more aware of that. Yeah. Beth Mead was caught offside 3 times. Tina Blackstenius was caught offside 3 times. They're not young players. They're very experienced players. You just need to be a bit more aware of that and release that ball through a little bit quicker, or get those players on side. So yeah, it was interesting. City's high line. It's difficult to say if it's working or not. They're getting those off cycles, as I say, but then equally the Beth Mead one, maybe if they dropped off 5 yards, they wouldn't have conceded. So it's difficult. It's very difficult. I think City at the moment have huge structural problems in terms of, I think their in-possession shape isn't really working because everyone's realised, oh wait, we'll just mark Yumi Hasagawa, and then they don't know what to do. So I think City have found solutions to that in-game, which again speaks to the quality of the players. They're very good then, once Hasagawa's out of the game, of using the width and being able to use Fowler and Fragino to great effect. But the problem is you can't do that in build-up stage. And now that teams are taking Hasagawa out of the equation by pressing City super aggressively, they don't know what to do. And it does feel at times there is a route one option. Just use it.
Yeah.
Simplify the game. You've got Viviana Miedemar up front. And if you don't have Viviana Miedemar, it's Khadija Shaw. You're not going to lose the header.
Yeah.
So I think in that regard, they've just got to stop overplaying.
Yeah.
When Keating plays Alexandri, I know I don't put any blame on Keating, but that could have gone long. Because you can read the game from there. As the goalkeeper, you can read the game. You can see that Caldentey is going to trigger the press as soon as you play it to Alexandri, especially once Alexandri takes the poor touch. It takes a heavy touch. Again, Alexandria should just smash that out of play. Really naive defending, but maybe there are other options, and I think City will look to do that, especially if Hasegawa is going to be marked out of any sort of build-up play. I think they will look to do that. But yeah, it does just feel like a City team that don't have a plan B, so they do get stuck playing the same football every time. People have figured them out now, top teams have figured them out now, and they are now starting to outplay them on a consistent basis. They've lost now this season to Chelsea, to Arsenal, and to Manchester United. They are yet to beat anyone in the top 4. The Brighton game as well wasn't convincing. And they're, I know they've dropped off now, but they were good at the time, and Vidicic is a good coach. But still, I think, it doesn't bode well for Manchester City. They are struggling against the better sides in the league. Against teams where they can't just overwhelm them with their strong attack, they are struggling. So there are a lot of problems for City. I don't think they're too difficult to solve, though. It does feel like, there are solutions. As for Arsenal, again, really strong performance. I do have some concerns over the number of goals they conceded, but again, as I say, City are a really strong team, so that's not too concerning, but there will be some slight concern, as there was with United, of course. But overall, really good performance and a really important victory. It sees them stay third or move back up to third in the league. Obviously, they did drop off after the loss to Chelsea. It means they are only 3 points off Manchester United. They're only 10 points off Chelsea. So, yeah, they're in the right position. They should get Champions League football. And for City, it will be worrying if they don't now get Champions League football.
Yeah, this result shows exactly where they are. It was a pretty tight game for the majority, but the team who are on form came out on top. The team who have got their heads up rather than keep making errors went on to win the game. And it's something that Arsenal have got to keep up. They've got to keep up this form. They've got to keep scoring goals for fun. Few. I think organisation at the back was poor. It was at times, but when Williamson and Wubben-Moy have played with each other this season, it's looked like that. So that is something that I think they will look to address and sort out between those two as a centre-up partnership. The option might just be now they're playing with each other ever again, but they don't want to do that. For City, the area they've got to, as you say, they've got to find something out because the way they're playing, the way they're trying to do things right now isn't working. They keep making errors, and it is going to cost them points, and a lot of them at this rate because they're a couple results away from falling into the clutches of when I say Brighton, but Tottenham because they keep just pulling results out of the bag. But again, when we do talk about Liverpool are getting back to their best, they finished 4th last season. If City keep slipping up, suddenly they're going to be on. They're going to be on them. So they've got to be careful that they don't drop too far. But that's not good enough. Staying 4th isn't good enough. They have to find a way to break into that top 3. Problem is now they've now got to rely on beating United and Chelsea in order to do that really because they don't play Arsenal again, so they can't. They either have to hope other teams beat the likes of Arsenal, which is very rare right now, or that I don't know, some miracle happens. But Taylor, City, they're in a bit of trouble now.
Yeah.
They've obviously Subway League Cup semi-final tomorrow is absolutely huge. If they lose to Arsenal again tomorrow night, then suddenly that's one trophy gone already. So pressure.
Well, yeah. I was about to say we haven't got long till we see these two sides meet again. Obviously tomorrow night in that Conti Cup game. What do you expect to see from it? Because obviously City lost to United, then went and beat them in the. And I'm going to keep calling it the Conti Cup. It's not the Conti Cup, but they lost to United in that game. Then they went and beat them. Will they do the same here with Arsenal? They've just lost at the weekend. How to see that game panning out?
Yeah, it was an interesting one that City United game because it was a mental game at the Etihad, and then it was so much calmer and more tactical and a lot closer. When United were hosted in that cup game. So I don't really know. This one I think is going to be very interesting. I'm expecting something similar. I think after such a crazy and chaotic frenzy of a football match, I can definitely see it being a lot more composed and a lot more nervy and a bit edgy. But what we saw in that game was Man City put faith in the youth, and the likes of Lily Murphy went on to score. And I think there'll definitely be some rotation again. Because they've got a point to prove. If they can't afford. They did well to respond to that. They've got to do that again though against Arsenal.
Yeah, I would agree. It'd be interesting to see. I do think though Arsenal do love the Women's League Cup. It is a competition they always seem to do well in. Weird. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did win again on Thursday to set up what is likely going to be meeting Chelsea in the final.
Or West Ham.
Could be West Ham.
Could be West Ham.
Could be.
Probably not.
Probably won't
Camilla
be, but
Sykes,
you never know.
even if West Ham are winning, Camilla Sykes put in her own net and it would go to penalties.
Then she'll put one in her own net
Yeah.
somehow. But yeah, I think it should be a good game tomorrow night. Obviously, join Harry for that.
Yes.
If you're watching today's video and want to join us later this evening, we're live for that Chelsea-West Ham game. Other than that, that is everything from us today. Go and check out a video. There'll be one on screen now if you want to watch more. If you are new, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And, of course, get involved in the comments below this video to continue this discussion. That, though, is everything from us today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.